For Gooners everywhere, this is the ultimate football app for you. For match highlights, interviews and the best Arsenal videos and podcasts. Download the free Gunners app now from the App Store and Google Play.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's normally Craig who says that. Craig cannot be with us tonight, so you've got myself, Dan Potts, hosting. I am joined by three fantastic Arsenal fans, one of which is Mr. Lee Judges. Lee, how are you, pal?
I'm all good, thank you. Any reason why Craig's not here? Did he give a reason why he couldn't make it today?
Well, I can't say it because I might swear, but he's got dodgy belly. Dodgy belly.
What it is,
That's what we call it. Yeah.
Oh, right,
dodgy belly.
Well,
Bless him.
We wish him well on, on the pan. We wish him well, what I mean?
On the pan.
I'll
tell you what, there's nothing worse than rotten guts. So
I've just got to go for it. I've left my my curtains open. All my fans are waving at the door, you know what I mean? And all this social, they're not allowed to mix together and all that. So I better just go and draw the curtains. I'll be back in
all right, mate. You do that.
Hello.
Hey, Trev, funny. Joining us also is Mr. Mark Partridge. Mark, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've left my ego behind, unlike some. No, I am actually really good. I know this is all mad, weird times, and we're all missing our football and bits and bobs, but I'm actually trying to find plenty of positives in this situation. Time with the family and time to chill out, get away from the rat race, and do those jobs around the house that I've been meaning to do. So yeah, I'm chilling out.
Mate, it's been garden and housework time for me as well the last few days, I must admit. I don't want to do it all, though. Do you know what I mean? I've got to leave some of it. Otherwise, I'll do it all.
One job a day, mate. One job a day.
Exactly, mate. Little and often, bro. Little and often. Trev, we're joined by Mr. Trev Hill. Trev, how are you, mate? Looking good, mate. Looking good.
I'm very well, thank you, Dan. Hello, boys. All right. Thanks for inviting me along. Looking forward to this. Might break the boredom up a little bit because these days are getting longer and longer as we go through this. But we've all got to stay safe, so I can live with that. But thanks for inviting me. Looking forward to it.
Mate, you're welcome anytime, Trev. Top man. You're right, Lee. Have you managed to drag yourself away?
Yeah. Sorry about that, night. Yeah.
Not many autographs there, mate. No.
There couldn't have been many, Dan, could there?
It's getting me down at the moment, because obviously, like with my injury at the moment, I can't go out running or do any exercise and all that, and
it's got autographs wrist.
That's it. That happened a long time ago. I make packs of biscuits after biscuits, I'll tell you what, I've turned me out to cooking now. I made myself some pancakes today. I was so bored. And I phoned up my mum and said, "How'd you make pancakes, Mum?" So she told me, and I've gone and done it. And I couldn't have to say they was really nice. So I've had a good day today. But what day is it today? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? I've got a clue.
It's hard to keep up, mate. It is a Monday, believe it or not, but it is blooming hard to keep up, mate. It really is, I tell you that.
Unbelievable.
Boys, we're going to have a couple of minutes just on touch on what's going on at the moment with the financial situation in football. Trev, seeing as you're the guest of the night, mate, we'll start with you. Trev, what's the fairest way, mate, to sort this out? Because a lot of clubs are furloughing, which is a new word for me, furloughing staff, but players' wages, it doesn't seem like much is happening there. What needs to happen, in your opinion, Trev, for the finance in football not to skyrocket?
Do you want me to be honest with you, Dan? I don't know, mate. I don't know. Does anybody really know? Do any of us at our level of supporters know what needs to be done and what actually goes on? I just want to see some positive publicity for all the clubs. It's all negative at the moment. And I would think that behind the scenes somewhere there's some positivity going on between either by clubs themselves or by players themselves. I'd like to see a bit of positivity. But as for how we answer it, Dan, every day you get up and you hear a different story. Like this morning, the latest breaking news was that if you reduce players' wages, it costs the tax man billions or millions of pounds. And so we're all worse off. So the honest answer, mate, is who knows? Who knows what the proper answer is? Because I don't.
Lee, we'll come to you before we do. Gona Glenn says you've shaved your beard off, mate. It's gone.
Gone. Couldn't handle it no more. That itching stage. I woke up one day last week. It was itching and itching. I could not handle it. Had to go. commend anybody like you and Trev there with your beards. I don't know how you get over that stage. I think
Trev's got a better one than me.
texted me, didn't he, and said, "You've got to go through it, Lee. Go through it." I said, "F that." I said, "I ain't going through that." That was it. Out come the old shaver, like, you know what I mean?
Done with it, mate. Done with it. Well, I thought it looked good, mate, but it's gone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
There we go, mate. Lee, what is going to happen, do you think? Are we going to start to see more teams get involved with what Spurs, Liverpool, Norwich, Newcastle are doing? What is the fairest way for this? Is it that we don't know and it's just we've got to ride the storm, so to speak?
No, I'm very passionate about this. It's because, and I'll tell you why. Like, I've heard for 10, 20 years, right? Oh, it's all about the Champions League. It's about Champions League money. We've got to get in the Champions League. We've got to get in the Champions League. The two teams that got into the Champions League final last season, Tottenham and Liverpool, are now going through to the government. So, as far as I'm concerned, then the Champions League ain't as great as the gravy train. Everybody believed it. If these two teams that have gone to the final, one of them goes on and win it, and they're both turning around and furlonging, is that the word?
Furlough, I think. Yeah.
Where'd they get that
Liverpool
from?
I don't know. Liverpool have apparently done a U-turn. We've seen in the comments here that they've made a U-turn and decided, no, okay, everyone's moaning at us, we won't do it. But Spurs, we believe, are. But you're right, mate. They've both in the Champions League the last couple of years. Liverpool have won it, and now they're doing that. That's greed, isn't it?
Well, I don't understand it. And what will make me, like, and I said it in a tweet yesterday, look, listen, I totally get it. Teams from Division 1, League 1, League 2 and things like that are great. But what will not sit right with me is if, like, Liverpool or Newcastle or Tottenham or whoever do this, and then in 3 months' time when a transfer window opens, they go and spend 50, 60 million pound on a player. Because if they can do that for a football player, they can certainly pay their staff while this is going on. And I also think that with the players, I don't think the players should take a pay cut on whatever and all that. They pay enough in taxes. In my opinion, that's what they do. That they're fortunate position that they earn a lot of money. Someone turned around to me and said that the Premier League as a whole, 3 billion goes into a year to the tax people. That's unbelievable. So, but what I think that they could do, and what I would do if I was a professional player, is go, look, here's £1,000 a week. That will pay the player, the non-playing staff every time. You know what I mean? Look after your own people. So, like, that hasn't got to go to that stage. Where people are losing 20% of their money for it all. That, like, the clubs should pay it. Listen, it's a multi-million-pound situation, and that's how I feel about it. But I will say this on footballers. I think footballers are getting a bit of a bad deal on this as well as everybody else. I haven't heard no one say that Lewis Hamilton's got to start chucking some money at this, or racing drivers or actors or whatever. It just seems to be put at the footballer's door because of the jealousy of whatever. So for me, I think that's got to be said as well. And that's where I stand on it. That's where I stand on it. I think that listen, it will tell us all what we want to know come the transfer window when Tottenham, and I'm not just because it's Tottenham, I'm just picking him out because they've actually done it, that if they go and buy £50 million players at the end of the season, they probably won't. But, they're in a position where I also think that it just shows you that of all the money in football, that a lot of these clubs are in a position where they're not as financially stable as we'd like to think that they are, now, which is a big worry. Say, for instance, Sky and all the TV money just pops off for a state. What, these clubs are going to be in some hell of a state, So
Burnley come out. There's a report in the paper today about Burnley, and the chairman's come out and openly admitted that in one of the rags that their club would be bankrupt by October, August if the season got cancelled.
Yeah, Mark, you're exactly right. I think Bournemouth have done something similar, haven't they? Bournemouth have put a bit of a statement out, and strangely enough, I saw earlier that Liverpool have changed their mind, done a U-turn about all this they were doing, and I think they're getting even more stick on social media now for doing the U-turn than they were in the first place. probably deserved, but who knows? Yeah, so
Liverpool always get stick, mate. Liverpool always get stick. Mark, Dave Atkinson has put here that Lewis Hamilton already is giving money. I think, is it fair to say, Mark, and it goes for not just, it goes for sports stars really overall, we don't know, do we, what they're thinking. Everybody assumes that they're being greedy and they don't want to take pay cuts and all this, but we don't know what they're doing for charities. We don't know. I know Hector Bellerin has come out and done a lot. Is it fair to say that by just saying that they should all be on 10 grand a week, that perhaps that's a bit too far? For all we know, Mesut Ozil might be on 350 grand a week, but for all we know, 100 or 200,000 pounds of that, £1,000 of that could go to charities for all we know. So what's your take on that, mate?
Well, we had this chat, didn't we, in the group where we were talking about it, and I'll put it out there now that I'm obviously not saying that players are going to start pleading poverty and all the rest of it, but we know that players have short careers. They may possibly get this one golden contract. They then mortgaged up to the hilt. So if we're fortunate enough to buy a property and we get 25, 35 years to pay that thing back, these guys have pretty much got to pay back whatever house it is they buy. And by the way, they can't just buy a house like we do. They have to buy one behind a gated community because of the moronic fans that there are. Proven the other week with the guys outside the Man United chairman's home where he had a wife and children, so they have to live behind gated communities. Those properties come at a premium, so they're forced into buying these houses at inflated prices. So their lifestyle, forced upon them because of the trade that they play or have chosen to play, is automatically more expensive. With that comes up some benefits. Obviously, they don't pay for vehicles. Everybody wants them to be seen in their vehicles. But you look at somebody like, Mane, who plays at Liverpool. We all know what he does for his homeland, for the schools, for the hospitals that he is building back home. And so he may well be on 150 grand a week, but he's thinking to himself, I've got 10 years to transform this nation. And added by, you've done something pretty similar. All the African lads, to a penny, pretty much, their entire careers are based around securing the financial and welfare of their entire family, and they are large. So it's easy to say, okay, so let's say for argument's sake, I earn £100 a week. I'll give 10% of that to charity. So if you earn 300 grand a week, you should be giving 30 grand of that to charity. That's not necessarily fair, is it? Because I'm going to work for 50 years, probably more, if I'm lucky, if health permits, whatever. So it's very hard. And the other thing, by the way, I'll just touch on is that what if they do things for charity and they don't want people to know? Like not everybody, by the way, takes a picture when they go deliver food to their nan. Most people just do it and don't bother putting it on social media because it's just the right thing to do. You don't have to post everything on social media, by the way. So if Frank Lampard, I know, used to give lots and lots of his time and money to charity and auctioning off things and all that. You won't hear him standing outside, jumping up and down like a town crier, telling people what he's done. Don't need to. Doesn't do it for that. Does it for the people he's helping. Not for you to be able to sit there and say, oh, what a lovely Frank Lampard. He doesn't care what you think. Do you know what I mean? So they may do fantastic things for charity and don't want people to know. Has anybody thought about that?
Yeah, I quite agree, mate. Hello and welcome to everyone in the chat room. Great question from Lee Farrell. Lee, regular watcher. I hope you're well, Lee, and keeping safe. Trev, I'll ask you this one, mate. For the panel, if you were on 100 grand a week, would you take a pay cut? If you were a footballer, Trev, on 100 grand a week, and this was the crisis that we're in, would you happily take a pay cut?
Oh, not unless I had to, if I'm honest. Not unless I had to, because Mark just made a classic point there about African footballers, right? Let's go back to that a second. You can take that a step further. They don't just look after their families. African footballers look after nations, right? They look after the nation they were born in. The whole country benefits, So probably that was where I would be putting. If I had the option, then I would be giving me money to charity. I'd still want me 100 grand a week, but I'd make sure it was going places. And much like Mark said, I probably wouldn't want much publicity for it either. Just get it done and let's get this stuff over with and move on. So, yeah, I would if I had to, but I wouldn't offer, I don't think. No, I might get bollocks for that, but that's the way it is.
Fair enough. Lee, we're talking about top clubs here. We're talking about Liverpool that have Champions League, going to win the league if it does kind of continue. What about teams like Colchester United, Leyton Orient? If they were to kind of do what they're doing at the top club with staff, is that understandable because they're in financial crisis, some of them?
Yeah, definitely. I've got no problem with teams doing it from that point of view, you know, because they are on a budget and whatever. Of course, you know, they're not relying on TV money and things like that. And they're not paying, you know, the players are not being paid 100 grand a week. You know what I mean? Like players in that league are probably getting, I don't know, anything from 2,000 upwards. To about, I don't know, 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever. Like, but don't forget, as Mark said, you know, they've got a short life. You know, that ain't going to go on forever, and then they've got to go out there and do another job. You know, and that's how it is. But these clubs, the top clubs, you know, are spending out. You know, you're talking about was it Sancho? They're talking about 120 million pound to buy him this season. You know, we bought Pepe this season for 75 million pound. Now, then you're asking, and then on the other hand, you're saying, like, oh, well, we need now to get some money off the government. It doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me, you know. And also you've got to think of the fans as well here, because there's going to be a lot of fans being hit by this. You know, come the first game of the season, I know we're talking about how we're going to go here and do that. There's a lot of fans that are not going to be able to go to football next season or this season because they're not going to be able to afford it. The money's going on other things at the moment. You know, I've now been off 3 or 4 weeks now. I haven't got a penny yet. You know what I mean? Like at this moment in time, it's still got to pay the bills and everything like that. You know, like hopefully through the business I'll be able to get it back at some stage. But at this moment in time, that's not guaranteed. They're saying that I can, but you don't know. And the thing is, from that point of view, you know. It is what it is, and you know, as I said, look, you know, like you know, someone just said in the chat that Boris now Johnson's gone into intensive care now. There's people dying, people not out there. It's you know, the well-being. You know, football now. We're in a position where it's all, you know, take. You know what I mean? And this is the problem that you've got at this moment in time. It's been like football. I don't care. It doesn't care. It's all about the money and all that. Like, you know, you can go on from when teams are, what time we have kickoffs and things like that. It's all dictated to, not by the fans. It's dictated by the TV companies because they pay the money. So they want to demand where that money goes and all that. Like, you know, so when you're getting it all in and you are, let's be honest, come on, they are fleecing the likes of all of us. Not just for ticket prices. Look at how much it is for a ticket at a game. You know, Arsenal, for instance, you know, along come Man United, right? And they charge you £90 for that. Like, you know, along come Burnley and they charge you 30 for the same seat. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. You know, you telling me the market price of 50, 60 quid, and there were a lot of times when Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, and all those teams were coming and beating us. I'd rather go and see it. At least you had a good game when you're playing the Burnleys of this world and whatever, like, you know. So they've been getting this money in hand over foot, hand over mouth, whatever you want to say, every week for so long.
I think it's hand over fist, Lee.
Over hand over fist. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? Thank you very much. So now, 4 weeks, is it 3 weeks into, how long have we actually been in lockdown? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
3, I think, is it?
I've lost count.
I don't know. Can't count anymore.
Lost count. You know what I mean? So you're into this stage and they're pleading poverty already. You know, come on. You know what I mean? Like, it's not on. I totally agree with it, with the teams below. You know, when you look at it, like, you know, teams like, I don't know, you know, down in League Two and that, they probably get Trevor probably knows this more than me. Attendances of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You know what I mean? We take that to away games.
There you go, Lee. Ray from City Fan TV. Hello, Ray. Thanks for watching, mate. Since the 23rd of the 3rd, apparently.
There you go. So it's there you go. But what I'm saying is, from that point of view, you know, we take more fans away from home than what teams are generating to survive on for a weekend season going month after month. So it's a very, very difficult situation for those three. But this Premier League and you know, Premier League clubs, Newcastle, you know what I mean? Now, come on, Newcastle, you know what I mean? They're fans.
Mike Ashley, though, isn't it? Mike Ashley.
Well, but they're fans. You know, see, what I will say is that a lot of us fans, Newcastle fans, Trev, myself, all of that, what you do is when you go to the Arsenal or wherever you give up things, you sacrifice things. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I ain't going to go and get that nice. I ain't going to go and get that nice pair of jeans or that pair of trainers today because I want to go to the Arsenal. So you prioritise on the Arsenal. You put it towards.
Is that your excuse, Lee? Is it?
Well, whatever, like, yeah, I mean, but that's how you do it, like, you know what I mean. So you've got to sometimes scrimp and save to go. I've been in the position when I haven't got no money, and I thought, oh well, I'll just go to the game and come home. You know what I mean? Make sacrifices. It's the turn there of the fans of the clubs to do that, and they're not. They're just thinking, oh well, we'll get the government to pull us out of it and all that. And it's totally wrong, in my opinion. Totally wrong, but. You know,
so what will happen when we get to the financial fair play? When the books are given, with this FIFA financial fair play thing, but and they've saved 20% of their non-playing staff wages. I mean, we don't know what that's going to add up to. It's not the playing staff, by the way, so it's not going to be millions. It's the non-playing staff. So, but we are talking possibly a few 100,000, aren't we? You know, when you think about the community coaches, the security, the transportation, and all all this sorts of stuff, it's going to be hundreds of thousands, and that could well be the difference between Spurs or Liverpool being able to offer Meccano 30 grand a week more than us, and we lose the lad.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what is interesting. We're talking about the television money, and I think most people know my view that television runs football nowadays. Football don't run itself. Television controls the game. How guaranteed is that television money while they're not playing football? Is there something in that contract that says that? I
don't think it is, though, Trevor. I think that's actually on the contrary. I think that Sky Sports is based on the live games. You get more money the more live games you have. So in actual fact, what I understood and what I read today was that if this season is cancelled and Burnley don't get those gate receipts and don't get that TV money that they're banking on, that they would have then overspent and they will go into liquidation.
There you go. Then that answers that.
It does.
Because Sky, everyone I know has cancelled their Sky subscription for the sport. So Sky are out of pocket as well. Where does the knock-on effect go? You know, so who knows?
It is crazy, boys. Turning it into a little bit of positivity. The season is going to continue at some stage, or football is going to continue at some stage, whether that's this season, next season, or whatever. So I thought what we'd do is just run through, because we are all Arsenal fans on here, what we believe we have with this current squad. So we're going to start with the goalkeeping situation at Arsenal and work our way through and just see where we are in terms of how happy you are with the squad, because there's a lot of ups and downs, there's lots of negativity, some pessimistic, but how much do we rate these players that Arteta has got? So if we start in goal, we'll start with you, Mark. We've got Leno and Martinez. If you were Mikel Arteta, would you look to change that in the summer?
Yeah, because I'd give the same answer to every position, is that you should always be looking to improve. So Martinez and Leno has come in, hasn't he, to the football club, and he's basically proven that he's more reliable or more fancied by three managers now, 2-3 managers. So clearly in training and on the pitch and around the club, they feel he's a better goalkeeper. So Martinez's days are numbered, and we should now be looking for a new goalkeeper to push Leno, whether that be a goalkeeper of a great standing who can show him the way, like when we signed Petr Cech, or whether it's a new, even younger, even more promising goalkeeper that's going to start pushing him. Either way, he needs pushing, as everybody will do.
I think it's an interesting one because Leno, for me, has had a great season and he's been one of our most consistent performers. I think he deserves the number one shirt still.
Yes.
I think realistically in the summer, I don't think we're going to get any better than him. I think Marble Halls TV has said that here, has echoed what I've just said. Will we get better than him? We can't afford more. The one thing I would question about goalkeeper is the backup. Lee Martinez, can we do better than him? For example, Ben Foster is on a free in the summer. Would he be a better backup choice than Martinez? I would say yes, but what would you say?
I would say that, but is he going to come to become a backup goalkeeper? I think that,
Exactly.
you've got to look at it from that point of view. I personally think that we've got more important areas to spend the money on than those two. I know that a goalkeeper is very, very important. I think Leno is. I don't say that I'd put Leno in the bracket of a layman or a seaman or anybody like that. He's
no,
but he's a decent enough goalkeeper, and I probably for what we bought for him, it's a good deal. So I don't think that I don't look at him and think it's weak like it was when it was Fabianski and Almunia and goalkeepers like that. So I feel that that's okay. I think that Martinez as a backup isn't a bad option for the games that he's played. I don't think he's really let us down that much. If you was to get someone like Ben Foster and he was prepared to come here and battle it out with Leno, I wouldn't be against that, on a free transfer. So, but I'm with you guys. I'm quite happy with that.
Okay. Trev, a lot of people in the chat saying that Leno's okay, but his distribution is not great. Are you happy with our two goalkeepers, Trev?
Yeah, much like Lee just said, to be honest with you, mate, there's other areas I'd like to see strengthened before the goalkeepers. I don't think Leno's let us down at all. I think he's been consistent and he's been improving. Yeah, his distribution does worry all of us a bit, I think. But if you look at the way the Premier League games are played nowadays, that's a lot of goalkeepers are under pressure like that. It happens to a lot of goalkeepers. Martinez, if we brought Foster in to challenge Leno, I wouldn't be unhappy, but a little bit differently to what the lads have said. I'm not unhappy with Martinez. He's a young lad. I don't think he's done anything desperately wrong. And as a backup, we could have a lot worse. Just interested, just something that come to mind then. I know my answer to this question, if you don't mind, Dan. Who would you prefer, Leno or Cech?
I'd have Leno, definitely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Leno for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think he's more of a consistent goalkeeper, and I think he's got more. He's a bit more vibrant. He can certainly play out from the back better, which is what I believe modern day goalkeepers are being asked to do. And you talk about Leno's distribution being bad. I was never a fan of Cech's distribution, if I'm honest. So I would keep Leno 100%. So, Trev, we'll stay with you. At right back, we've got Hector Bellerin, who's had his injury problems. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has played there and deputised, but seems to be out of favour with Mikel Arteta, which is why we brought in Cedric Suarez. Are you happy with them three? Would you keep Bellerin at number one at right back?
Bellerin's a player of different seasons, isn't he? He seems to have a real great period for some considerable time, and then he seems to go off the boil for some considerable time. And he's a bit yo-yo like that. When he's good, he's very, very good, I think, Bellerin. Very good indeed. But when he's poor, you can see weaknesses. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who knows what he's done to Arteta? Arteta just doesn't seem to fancy him at all, does he? So I don't know what Maitland-Niles has done. And the new lad, I'm not really in a position to comment, really. But, it'd be nice to have a real standout right back coming to the club. I think that's one of the positions I would be looking at, definitely.
Mark, do you agree? What's going on at right back? We've got three players there, and we can't seem to keep one in the right position, to be honest. What do you do at right back?
Yeah, it's just a huge disappointment about Ashley, isn't it? I honestly thought he was going to grab hold of that this season under Arteta with the youth being given a sorry. It must be getting bad if I'm getting pulled up on names by Lee.
Yeah, you're going downhill fast.
It is a sad situation because he had all the attributes to be a cracking, in this modern day of attacking right backs. He could have been our Alexander Trent Arnold, if that's his name. I always get it the wrong way around. But he's, it's such a shame. It's such a shame. And like Trev, Suarez, what can we say about him? No one knows. Another guy we brought with a broken back. But the only thing I will say is that Bellerin is probably finished.
Do you think?
Yeah. It's not good enough. He's not man enough. He hasn't I don't think physically he has grown. In stature, when I look at him and Ashley Maitland-Niles,
Ainsley.
I'm just doing it to wind Lee up now. I think that, you in the 50-50 ball, I'd fancy my chances against Bellerin, but with Ainsley, I don't know if I'd get there. You know what I mean? I definitely wouldn't. He'd definitely skin me alive. But he hasn't done it, has he? He just hasn't. He's kind of almost everything that epitomises what's been wrong about Arsenal. Since he became one of our senior players and one of our 5, whatever that is, we've been rubbish.
I think,
let's be honest.
In his defence, he has had a horrendous injury, and
He
that is a hard injury to
but that's
come
not
back
our
from.
problem, is it?
But no.
That's happened. We move on.
Yeah. Lee, as in Lee Judges, Lee Farrell has put a good comment on here about young Max Aarons off of Norwich being a good signing. It says also Peter says that Inter Milan are apparently looking at buying Bellerin this summer. Arsenal looking to sell if a good offer comes in, according to reports. Would you sell Bellerin, Lee?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, good couple of points been made there. I think with Bellerin, he was absolutely outstanding against Chelsea in the away game. He was absolutely brilliant, but I don't think physically now he can continue that on. He sort of like had that great game, and it was a physically demanding game on him, and then he's dropped his fitness or whatever, and I think his body's probably not taking it as much there. And I don't know about you, but I've been watching a lot of things on BT Sport about the American sports and things like that, and they get injuries to players, basketball and all that. Doesn't matter how good they are. Doesn't matter how good they are. If they're not up to scratch, bang, they're got rid of. They're ruthless, you know what I mean? And they had a coach on there the other day saying, but you got rid of him. And he said, it comes to all the greats with your, I think he said Babe Ruth or blah, 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 blah. We can say it, whether it's Pele, Maradona or Hector Bellerin, there comes a time when it's your time. And
you'll never hear those 3 names. Sorry, Lee. You'll never hear those 3 names mentioned in the same sentence.
No,
again,
you will not. You will not. But the point it being is that it comes to, and I think that Arsenal are not ruthless enough. We're too like, I'll give them another go, give them this and give them that. Now the part of me would like to see Bellerin, see what he's like the coming season, because he'd have had a year after his injury, and if we're still getting the same performances, then I think that you've got to say, right, now you've got to be more ruthless. And I think that Trev said with Ashley Maitland-Niles there, he just doesn't seem to. I thought he was doing really well, and then all of a sudden just got dropped. So, whether it's I don't know, behind the scenes things and all that, and say Cedric, listen, all three of them and make a good right back. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it's 3 players. So rip it up and start again. Good song that was, and I think that's going to. I would like to see another right back come in. Yeah,
a lot of people agreeing in the chat saying that a right back is needed. Thomas Mounier is a free transfer from PSG. Obviously, Max Aarons has been looked at, and Cedric Suarez is a free transfer if he does get a chance to play, which looks very unlikely as far as I'm concerned at the moment. So right back definitely need improving. Left back, however, Trev, young Saka and also young Kieran Tierney are looking like they're going to boot Kolasinac out the door, which I'd be happy with. But I know you're a fan of Kolasinac. So what do you think is going to happen at left back, Trev?
You always do me with this one, don't you? I don't mind Kolasinac, right? He's not a superstar, but I don't mind Kolasinac, right? But it's a position that we can relax in, I think, to be honest. I mean, Saka, I had a long rant about Saka the other night on the other side, and for someone that's not a left back of that age to transform the way he does and be watching him progress throughout the season, I think he's probably the one that this break has hurt the most, because it's halted his development. He was flying, and then of course, as you said, we've got Tierney to back him up. We've not seen a lot of Tierney, and when he did play. Yeah, when he played them 2 or 3 games, he didn't knock our socks off, but then again he was coming back from a previous injury, so you got to give the lad a bit of time, settle in. So yeah, I didn't think I'd say it, but I'll be looking at Saka and Tierney and probably Kolasinac Can Kolasinac play right back?
Lee, would you agree with that? I know you're not you don't dislike Kolasinac as much as I do.
No,
But would you prefer Tierney and Saka over him? Basically, that's my question.
well, I think Saka's been great where he's played. I've been really excited by him playing the left back, but I think maybe we could save some more money with him going further forward. So Tierney and I agree with what Trev said there. Everybody going mad about him. Like, I haven't seen enough of him to say, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket for him. You know what I mean? Because I don't think we've seen enough of him. But I think that with Kolasinac there as well, and Sacco that could play there if needed. I'll go back to the goalkeeper. I think there's other areas we can spend money on, so I'd keep them three there, if I'll be honest.
Lee, sticking with you, we've got a great question. We're going to move on to our centre backs, where I believe we do need some reinforcement. Question for Lee: what do you make of Holding situation? Do we loan him next season or keep him? It's a great question, Lee, because it's not just Rob Holding. We've got Callum Chambers as well. They're both English lads. They're both still pretty young, probably in their early 20s. One of which is going to be injured for most of next season if it does start up again. And Rob Holding couldn't really get fit after a nasty injury. What would you do with Rob Holding and Callum Chambers, judges?
Straight away, as soon as they're fit, out on loan for a year, 6 months or whatever. Straight away.
Both of them?
Both of them. Because we're seeing it with this season with Rob Holding. We're seeing it with Bellerin. They're not contributing. I would like to see him get a full season under his belt of playing at someone like Bournemouth or someone like that. And getting the experience and playing. Same with Callum Chambers. And, the trouble with Arsenal, if you come into the team, you're going to be in and out of the team, playing like a couple of games here and there. And they need to build up their bodies, build it up, like get match fitness in their legs, not having a couple of games in the Europa League, one in the League Cup, they're not playing for 3 months and whatever. Get them on loan and say to these clubs, if you're going to take them, barring that they ain't playing well for obvious reasons, but play them, and then you can assess it back after a year. As Callum Chambers doing well for us last season, but as far as I'm concerned, you can write out next season for him because he's not going to be about any good because it takes a year to get over this. And we've seen it so many times with the likes of Bellerin, the likes of Rob Holding this season. Rob Holding has hardly played, but with the coronavirus and everything like that, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But in January, he should have gone out on loan, should have gone somewhere, and build them up because these players were potentially very, very good players for us, by the way. But unfortunately, injury, and again, if it's not going to work, you've got to be ruthless, I'm afraid.
Mark, if Holding and Chambers were both fit, do they have a future at Arsenal and are they ready to go straight into that centre-back partnership?
No, I'll take it one step further than Lee. Don't want to bang the same drum, but again, like Bellerin, they're done. They've been there too many years. They haven't established their place in the team. We've got other hopes and dreams with this lad Saliba coming. So the only reason that Rob Holding and Callum Chambers will still be at our football club is because of their nationality.
Wow. Trev, do you think that's a good point?
If they were Spanish, they'd have gone. They'd be gone.
What do you think, Trev? Do you think that's a fair comment? Do you think that's harsh?
I think it's an honest comment that you can't disagree with because, that they are English and we do need a certain amount of English players in the squad. But I thought Holding looked poor last season when he did play the odd game. He looked like he'd gone backwards a bit. I know he'd carried the injury. Chambers, who knows how he's going to come back from this mess. But what I will say, right, and this might start a bit of debate, right? And we're by no means a finished article, and we're not brilliant by a long way. But I thought that after Arteta came in, where I saw the most improvement in our side was in the centre-backs, right? That's where I saw the most improvement, right? I thought that even Mustafi looked a different player under Arteta, right? And I'll even go as far as to say Mustafi going off against Olympiacos at the Emirates cost us a game. I would say that cost us the game because I thought the lad pulled his socks up and buckled down. The Greek I can't dislike. Socrates can't dislike him. But I don't think he's quite there. Louise, my views are well known on Louise. I'd like to see him play further up the field. But yeah, we got what's his name? The lad Mari, haven't we? And we got Saliba. So we don't need them all, do we? So do we? I don't think we need to buy any more. We need to ship a couple out. And if they keep improving as they did after Arteta came in, I can't knock them too much. Before I could, now I can't.
Fair enough, Trev, to be fair, mate. I quite agree, Lee, that we have got enough centre-backs, but I believe we still need to buy one, or at least one. Saliba coming in is highly rated, highly rated. We've still got Mustafi, Socrates, Luiz, Holding, Chambers and Mari. Okay. Who needs to go, Lee?
All of them.
Okay.
All of them.
Apart from Saliba.
No, Saliba is not here, is he? You know what I mean? He's not here yet. But Mustafi, I agree with Trev. He has improved, but not to the standard that's going to win you a title. Not to the standard that's going to get you to top four. Right? You can say the same about Socrates. He's not, I think again has improved, but he's not going to get you top four or title. They're not title central defenders. The two, Mari. I haven't seen enough of, if I'll be honest, but he's going to be a backup if anything. David Luiz, was once upon a time, but not for me. And I think this is where we've got to really go big and spend some money in the summer. I know we were talking about money earlier on in the program, but whatever, I don't know how things will change and whatever. But let's just say everything goes back to normal and we've got a bit of money. Then, we've got to go and get in somebody like. The one that that's him. You know what I mean? Like go and get him, or somebody like that, a big central defender, or go into the Premier League and buy and go and buy one. You know what I mean? Like, and there are some of them about. But for me, it's all right saying yes. These players have improved, and Mustafi, where he helped us out if he'd have stayed against Olympiacos, I agree with that. But ultimately, they're not good enough. I've seen them week in, week out. And yes, to his credit, I think it's fantastic that Mustafi has improved. And it's great that I went to Portsmouth and Trevor agreed, and they were singing his name when he got injured and all. It was great to see because it's a great turnaround. But if you're going to go on and win titles or challenge for these sort of things, he is not the answer. And when you look at that, you look at Manchester City this season, as good as players that they've got all around them, where has been their weakest point this season has been their central defence, and that is why they've not won the league this season. So it's something that we've got to look at, we've got to address. And if I was in charge at Arsenal, I'd be saying, right, that is where I'm going to go in first. I'm going to buy proper central defenders and make us strong straight down the spine. And unfortunately, for too many years now, we've been weak in that position.
Can I just add to wrap that up, if I may, that with Saliba coming in, I can't see Arsenal spending big. I hope to God I'm wrong that they get that Upamecano, but I think Saliba coming in, and that will be then those nucleus of surplus players that we've got, they will use as bait to try and strengthen elsewhere. I think they've made we cannot lose a whole window just strengthening the centre-back position. So Saliba coming in with Mari and with Luiz finding what do you call it, the twilight of his career, and maybe we'll stick with Mustafi, but all the others have got to go to raise funds to try and find this holding midfielder and to potentially replace up top.
Yeah, I think, listen, William Saliba coming in, obviously he's got a potential long-term future at the club if he is as bright spark as people are saying. Holden and Chambers, I'd like to see both loaned out, but I think Chambers will be too injured for that one. I think David Luiz will probably stay for his last season of his contract, and I think we'll probably see Mari signed because I think he's going to be a cheaper option. I'm not so sure that I reckon we got room for one more, maybe Upamecano, if we do get the money to spend. But I think Socrates and Mustafi will be out the door. So centre-back 100% needs improving without a doubt. Oh, Lee's back. No, he's back. He's joined us.
Oh, I don't know what, yeah,
That's
right,
all right, mate. No, internet, I think.
He's just
Going
had to
into the
get rid of
midfield-
his fans again. He was just at the window
That's what it was.
waving off some of his
Out the
fans.
window. Going into midfield, Mark. This is a very, very, very interesting one, and I think it's a huge, huge part of the pitch that I think we need to strengthen. Joe Willock, Matteo Guendouzi, young, but I would keep them both. Do you agree?
Yeah.
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 I think in terms of the defensive midfield, we're definitely in trouble. I don't think that Arteta fancies Lucas Torreira. I don't think that Xhaka is the long-term answer. What do we do in midfield, Mark? What do we do?
Do
we start again?
Torreira, still that lad frustrates me because he's got all the. It reminds me of like Dennis Wise. Do you know what I mean? The way he terriers around the pitch and tries to do things. He can play football as well. You know, he's a good player, and I like players like that. You know, he's got a bit of spunk about him. You know, like Ray Parler, and I like him. I do like him. And do you know what? Granit Xhaka's attitude since he's come back into the fold under Arteta has been fantastic. But as Lee said, in the centre-half position, are they their long-term answer? No. But can we afford to replace them both in one window? No. So will they both stay? Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Trev, I know you're a fan of Torreira. I'm actually a fan of Lucas Torreira. I don't think we're going to win the league with a lad, but I actually think in terms of who we've got in the centre of midfield at the moment, he is our best player in the centre of midfield. I think when him and Xhaka are together, it's probably the best double pivot we've got. So I think that he's a good player, good enough player for what we've got at Arsenal at the moment if we're looking to push for top four. Trev, Torreira, sell or keep?
Oh, definitely keep. But then again, when's he going to come back, boys? When's his injury fixed? You know, it's a bad one, isn't it? We've taken into account what we got, as the lads just said, and the options. We don't get rid of Torreira. We keep Torreira. He excites, just like Mark just said, he excites me greatly. You know, he buzzes around the park and he puts a tackle in and he lifts us when we need lifting. He's not a champion of champions, but he's the best we've got. You know, you mentioned Xhaka, right? And all us fans, we have our opinions on Xhaka, but he's not been dropped once, has he? None of the managers nobody has dropped him. And I don't think the fans, I think we must be missing a trick somewhere as fans because he seems to be first name on the team sheet every game, doesn't he?
Is that Harry in the bottom left there, or is that Trev? That sounds like Harry, Trev.
Yeah,
Harry's
Harry
exactly
is a
the same, but he does something in the dressing room. The managers see something we don't see. This is Harry's drum, isn't it? That he's a great lad around the club. And Lee's a good friend of him.
He is a good friend of Granit Xhaka. He is indeed. I think we need to start getting midfield. I'm a fan of Lucas Torreira, but Lee, Dani Ceballos is a great shout because if Real Madrid, say we want 35 to 40 million for Dani Ceballos, do we sign him or do we put that towards getting Jack Grealish?
Well, this is a difficult one for me. I first of all gonna say that I'd sell Torreira. Get as much as we can for him, sell as much as my old mate Xhaka as well, get so much money for him. Then we go to Atletico Madrid and we get Partey. That's who we get, like, you know, and then we put somebody alongside him, whether that be Ceballos on the, you know, for me, 40 million for Ceballos is a lot of money for someone I'm not too sure on. He has done really well for us, but I think there's still more to come from him, but I'm not 100% guaranteed. But if we could then go and buy it, say like Grealish, and play him in that position, I would say no. Let's relinquish on that and go and get Grealish. That would be my two, and then you've got a proper midfield too. Then and someone that can go from box to box, and you've got someone that's. We haven't got a beast in the side. And we've not had one for a very, very long while, and I think that we need to do that. And all of a sudden, our spine will look a lot stronger. I get what everybody's saying about Torreira, but again, I'm going to go back to it. You know what I mean? We're not going to be winning titles or getting in the Champions League with the likes of him playing, and that's sad as it is. People going on about Jack Grealish, oh, he's not worth it now because of what he's done. Sometimes along the line, this is a good thing for us because if a little bad boy image, hopefully people will be a little bit, I'm not too sure about him. Sometimes you have to take a little gamble on this side. He's been the best English player in the midfield this season in the Premier League. And he's been doing it for Aston Villa, that are not one of the greatest sides. So for me, I'd take a big gamble on them. And also
Sometimes there's, well, sorry to interrupt, mate. The bad boy attitude works out. Van Persie was a bad boy. Do you know what I mean? There's some players with that little bite about them. It does work out as long as you put the trust in them. So with Jack Grealish, I'm with you. I'm a massive fan of the lad. I think he'd be great.
And I also think that sometimes, the bad boy attitudes, because you can get away with it at a club like Aston Villa. Not having a dig at Aston Villa, I'm saying, because he's the big fish in the small pile. I've got to let him get away with it. If you come to a bigger club, there's just as good as players, and they're in a little bit of a position where they have to be a little bit too nicey to him at times. He needs to go. Whether he goes to Man United or whatever. And at the end of the day, all the top clubs are going to be linked with him. A reason why, because he's a good player. That is what I do. I do feel that we need to revamp the midfield. Change it all around. I agree with Guendouzi and Willett. Keep them two young players. Sacco can play in that little position as well. Go and get those two guys. And lads, we'd be trust me on this. We'd be like, you looking at it thinking, God, we've got a good side here. And then this time next season, do you remember Torreira? Who was he? No, not really. Don't remember him. That's what.
Well, let's hope so, mate. I hope you're right there. Trev, I've got to come to you on this one, mate. Mesut, 350 grand a week, Ozil. I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay for his final year next season of his contract, whatever, because I don't think we're going to be able to get rid of him purely on the wages situation. What do we do with Mesut Ozil, Trev? Do we keep him in and around the club for a season, or do we have to try and get rid of him in the summer?
Oh, no pressure on the old man, then. Cheers, Dan. He's not going to go anywhere. I think he's going to be here for his last, for at least until January, till the January transfer window, and then they might try and recoup a little tiny bit on him. But if we're honest, if I'm honest, he don't get in my Arsenal side. Although once again, he's lifted a bit under Arteta, as every player in the squad has. Ozil don't get in my Arsenal side. I still struggle to forgive him for Baku last year. I do. I know I shouldn't dwell on that, but I do. I was there. I watched the bloke on the field, saw what he did, and I was unhappy with him. Yeah, he won't go, I don't think. He may go in January. We'll recoup a little bit on him, but does he get in the side? No. To be honest with you, I'd rather see Guendouzi playing in that position that Ozil plays if you push me to choose between the two any day of the week. Yeah. So he'll stay, but maybe go in January for a little bit.
Mark, what's your opinion on Mesut Ozil's situation? Do you think that he should stay, will stay, or would you like to see him go in the summer?
You can only let people go if you can get better in. There's no point changing for the sake of changing. Like, the grass ain't always greener. So show me the options we've got first before we push that button. But my personal opinion is I think he's settled in London. He's just had a baby. The last thing he'll want to do now is move. So he's not going anywhere. And who can blame him for that? We gave him a contract for 350 grand a week. No one else is. So he's not going to go anywhere. So it is what it is. Mesut Ozil, he's just got to ride it out and pick him for when we know he's going to be worth playing. We've got to use him when we know it's going to be worth playing. Just accept he's not going to turn up in big away games. Just don't bother taking him. And I think Mikel Arteta has actually started doing that in like European away games and things like that. They've actually just started saying there's no point even taking him. Just let him have a rest. We'll use him on Saturday at home against Burnley. Fair enough. You may say, well, he's on 350 grand a week. He should be doing more. He doesn't. So let's just get over that. There's reports in the paper that we're heavily chasing Willian from Chelsea on a free transfer. That's probably the sort of business would be good business for Arsenal. I like him, set piece player, dead ball specialist, bags of energy. So he could offer something I'd like to see him linking up with Pepe. I think that them two could possibly run and work well together. So I don't know if I can't really answer your question about Ozil because it's just completely out of our hands, isn't it? And there's no point keep beating ourselves up about it. If he's there, use him the right way. If he's not there, we save a load of money. But listen, we've got to, if we're going to get rid, it's all well and good, isn't it? Saying get rid of those 3 centre backs, get rid of those 2 holding midfielders, get rid of that playmaker. We all know we need a better spine apart from Aubameyang, who we play on the left wing. But we can't change it all overnight. Manchester United. I think Man City, they got their money in 2008. I don't think they won the league until 2012. Chelsea got their money in 2003. They didn't win the league till 5 or 6 years later. You can't change a team overnight. Man United used to buy one player every year, big money, 30 million. They used to just so we can't change it all, and I just think we just let Ozil ride it out, and as I say, use him where we can.
Yeah, Lee, Xhaka, Ceballos and Ozil, or Thomas Partey, Jack Grealish and Lucas Torreira? I think I'd go with the latter. Would you?
Yeah, I'd go with the latter lot. So listen, Mesut Ozil, the situation is that he'll probably end up in Turkey. But the fact of the matter is he can't go to Turkey now because they can't afford him. But when he goes on a free transfer, they will be able to afford him. So, and he'll take a pay cut then and whatever, because that's what he want to do. But that will come either in January when he agrees to terminate his contract, where it will be over a mutual consent, or he goes at the end of the season. We just have to live with that. That's one of those things that we're going to have to do. But for me, when Mark says show me the options, you know what I mean. For me, someone like Saka would be a better player in his position come the next season and the seasons afterwards. Same as Jack Grealish. But at this moment in time, I agree. He's got to stay. Oh, he ain't got to stay, but he will stay. It's as simple as that. I don't think he's got a choice.
I have to agree. I don't think he's going to go anywhere for his final year, and people in the chat certainly agree with that. Moving out wide, Trev, young Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Reece Nelson, and Pepe. I'd say we're all right there, are we? Or do we need someone else to upgrade on maybe Reece Nelson? And potentially we're quite young, some might say.
Yeah, well, no, I'm happy with it, to be honest. I'll tell you what was very exciting earlier this season was the Saka-Martinelli relationship down that left-hand side. That was developing very nicely indeed. And I was a bit disappointed just before the break came that he seemed to be leaving Martinelli out the side. And I would have loved to have seen them both starting the games together and developing that partnership even more. Pepe we spent a lot of money on Pepe, haven't we? And you can see there's talent there. You can see it. And let's just hope that as we go into next season, we start seeing that, consistently seeing breaking more tackles and scoring more goals. So yeah, I'm not too worried about out wide, to be honest. I can't get Grealish out of my head, boys. I've not had a say on Grealish. I know I'm going back here, but why would Grealish come to Arsenal? Why would Grealish come to Arsenal?
Because we're two places higher than Villa.
Yeah, but if you've got Liverpool, Man United, whoever,
he ain't coming to us. Let's be honest. He's not coming to us. Let's be honest.
I'll tell you what. A couple of reasons. I'll give you a couple of reasons why he could come to us. One is that Man United may be going to other positions. They've got Bruno in that position. What's his name? Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
So is he going to get the game time there? I will state this, and it's a very peculiar thing to say. We beat them with 10 men beginning of the season, and they lost. Was it 3-2, and they was 2-1 up, and it was a lot. He come out the next day and said, "I love playing at this stadium, my favourite stadium." Why would he come out and say that? Also, I think Trev, London will attract. It's Birmingham boy, bright lights and things like that. And I think that, whatever happens with Villa this season, he's done enough to get a move. Now, I honestly also think that I think he's been loyal to him. I think he's been very, very loyal to him. That they ain't going to go mad and say, oh, like with the Zaha thing and totally overprice him. I don't think that they'll do that, especially if they do get relegated, which I don't, by the way, don't want to see Aston Villa get relegated. But as Kevin says, and a lot of Arsenal players in the past say, well, it's a different knock when Arsenal knock. And I still believe that. It's still a great opportunity for him to come in, know that he's going to play week in, week out, be a regular starter, where I don't think, certainly if I was him, Manchester City, I watched Mahrez, for instance, the best wide player 2-3 seasons ago, goes to Manchester City and hardly plays that much, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, if I was a player, I'd be a little bit cautious of going to Manchester City. Liverpool, yeah, but then, you know, you're going to say, right, okay, Grealish, are you going to get in front of the top those 3 players in that side there? I look at the place that he could probably play is in place of Chamberlain. Chamberlain is in and out of the side. So I feel there is an opportunity for us. I really do. And, you know, and if Trev, as you know, you've got to sell it to him as well and say to him, look, you know, we're going to build this team around you. You're going to be this and you're going to be that. Why not? Why not go for one of the biggest clubs in the country that needs a superstar? Charlie Nicholas was in the same position. We had this very similar. We go back to we're a very similar side to what we are now. And I remember, Trev, you will remember this as well.
I'm too young, Lee, to remember.
I'm sorry. I do apologise. But everybody was going, oh, he's going to go Liverpool, Man United, you know what I mean? But he went to Arsenal. And I think he wasn't the success what we all thought he was. But that was a big, big signing to show that Arsenal was still a big, big club. And I think we need to do that. I think we've been not doing it. We need to bring in a marquee, big, big signing, and we've got to do it, because if we don't, we're just falling down the pecking order. And this is the perfect opportunity for us to do it. I really do believe that.
I think there's,
right. I hope you're right, mate.
I think there's 3 clubs that are going to go in for him. I think we're one of them. I think the people up the road are going to be the other one. And I also think Man United. But with Man United, it's an interesting one, what happens with Pogba, because I think with Bruno Fernandes and Pogba, they've got 2. They won't need a Grealish. So I think whatever happens there, if they get rid of Pogba, they might go for Grealish or Maddison. And I think that Arsenal and Tottenham will go for Jack Grealish. And it's going to be a matter of who's playing the more competitive football. I think Jack Grealish has come out and said that his favourite stadium is the Emirates. So that does suggest that he's a fan of Arsenal. Why would he say that otherwise? So let's hope that he would rather come to Arsenal than that lot up the road.
Absolutely.
In terms of the wide players, just touching on that, I'm going to put a suggestion, because I think Reece Nelson could do with a loan move. And the reason I say that is because I think that he needs to be bulked up a bit. He looks quite weak to me. He looks like he's got some skill, but it looks like he needs to go and get beefed up a bit like Smith Rowe is hopefully doing on loan at Huddersfield. If Reece Nelson was to get a loan move and we was to get an Adama Traore in from Wolves, or if we was to even try and get a Zaha or something, I don't know, somebody to put an upgrade on that, would you welcome that, or do you think that would then ruin the potential of Martinelli or Saka? Mark?
Well, you can only ruin the potential of somebody if you take away their game time. So you're right in what you say about loaning them out. But, you know, you've got to go back at it and say if they're, talk about whether they're age and that, if they're good enough, they're old enough, you know. So at some point, he's got to start banging down this door, isn't he? You know, Tony Adams was captain of Arsenal at 19, playing at 17. Different game, I know. But, you know, what I'm saying is, Beckham's, you that class of 92, you know, they were forcing their way into the side, you know, and stuff. So if he should be banging on the door. And if he's not banging on the door, he might as well go, you know. So, yes, I would welcome somebody to come in and command that position. Of course we would, but we're not going to be able to do that, are we? If we're signing Jack Grealish and Meccano, you know.
Well, the other option people are saying in the chat, Ryan Fraser from Bournemouth is free.
Well,
Willian is free. That's another couple of
so
options.
Willian and Ryan Fraser, that is a serious business, and those for nothing. That is serious business, because that then frees up all the capital plus the funds we raise to go seriously after a holding midfielder at Partey or Meccano. Now, I do not believe it will be the centre back, like I said, but we can't chuck money around. And I love Lee's passion, and he's right in what he says, that we are the Arsenal and we should be able to attract people. And yes, of course we can, with the bright lights of London, the history of this football club, the class of this football club being unrivaled, the back catalogue of trophies. So we should, and if we could imagine for a second, if you will, Willian, Ryan Fraser and Jack Grealish injected into our midfield this summer, with Saliba coming into the back four, with a fit Tierney after he's had his thing, Suarez at right back, fit again, putting pressure on Bellerin, actually making Niles knuckles down pre-season and start showing the sort of attitude that Arteta wants to see, and a few of the dead would go out and raise some funds. We're away, aren't we?
Well, I think so. I mean, a couple of people in the chat, Christopher says, why would we want Fraser or Willian? I personally think Fraser or Willian would be an upgrade on Nelson.
Yes.
So I would suggest that I would like to take him.
It would also be an upgrade on Aubameyang, because Aubameyang.
Well, this is what I'm going to come on to now. This is what I'm going to come on to.
and then you could say, I don't know, use Lacazette to get someone like Partey.
Yeah. We're forgetting Martinelli as well, aren't we? By the way,
we've still got Martinelli.
Let's not forget about Martinelli.
I think wide we're good. We're good wide. I think Martinelli is a great shout. He's been my favourite player this season. He's been absolutely superb to watch and very exciting. It leads us to the last position before we run out of time, guys, and that's centre forward, Aubameyang and Lacazette, and of course Eddie Nketiah. Trev, if Aubameyang stays and Lacazette stays and Nketiah stays, are we all happy?
We're never going to be completely happy, are we? But I think the important one out of the three of them at this very moment is Eddie Nketiah, because Eddie was getting in the side in front of Laka, weren't he? Right? He was picking Eddie up front in front of Laka and still playing Aubameyang out wide. So he obviously thinks a lot of Eddie Nketiah, and he didn't let us down. What's the answer to that question? It's a bit like we've said about the other positions, isn't it? If we could afford to sign a big marquee forward, then everyone would want them to buy him. But I don't think that Alba's not let us down, playing out wide. Laka, I don't think Laka had the best of luck this year. He's missed a lot of chances, but I don't hate him. I don't not want him in my side. And then Eddie seemed to come back from his loan spell about a 2 stone heavier. He seemed to have bulked right up and looked a different type of forward. He went from being he went to Leeds, this little stringy lad who we all remember for scoring 2 goals against Norwich in a cup game. Right, about 10 stone wet through. He came back to me looking this bulky centre forward. He might well do a job for us. So, yeah, it wouldn't be the first or second position I chose to strengthen. To be honest, centre forward, it wouldn't.
Fair enough, Lee. If Lacazette and Aubameyang do not want to sign for the Arsenal, do we sell them and try and replace them?
Yep, definitely.
And how can we replace them? Because for me, there's not many out there.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't replace them this year, then you've got to replace them next year. You know, whatever way you look at it, if they're not going to sign a contract, people say, we can't replace them. Well, we're going to have to the next year with no money. I'd rather replace them this season with money than replace them next season with no money, because whatever way you're going to have to do that, you're going to have to do it. For me, whether Lacazette wants to go or not, for me, Lacazette, I would go and try and do some sort of deal to get Partey in, and then you can have a Fraser or a Willian going out wide. That suits us in that position there. Then because we need a wide. We need, Aubameyang's been playing on the wide to cater to the Lacazette partnership. We don't need both of them. I know they're great players and all that, but one's going to play, one's not going to play, and one's playing out on the wing if one plays up front. It's a difficult situation, but again, as I come back to what you've got to be ruthless. You've got to look at what's the best for the club and what's best in combinations. For me, what I'd do is I'd get, if we could get someone like Partey in, and then you can say, do you know what, we're signing William, Fraser, we're getting a central defender in as well, Pierre. Sign, and we're going to, in the next season or so, we're going to have one hell of a side. We're bringing in Jack Grealish. We're doing this, doing that. Come on, sign. Now, at the end of it, if you go up to Aubameyang and you say to him, we've got Partey coming in, we've got Fraser, and we've got Willian coming in for frees, we've got central defender coming in, and we're also bringing in Jack Grealish as well. We're going to lose a couple along the way. All of a sudden you think, well, hold on a minute, I might want to sign. I'm happy here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why would I want to go anywhere else? But if you go up to him and say, we're getting rid of Lacazette, we're getting around, we're only bringing in this and that, he's going to, show him the ambition. And then if you show him the ambition, he doesn't want to sign, then fair enough. Then you've got to do what's best for the club, get as much money in as you can for him and go and buy somebody else, or do a deal with Real Madrid for Jokovic, or do a deal with Barcelona where you get Griezmann. Simple, that's how you do it. And we've got to be ruthless, and that's how I would do it. I've got no sentiment to any of these players at this moment in time. That none of them have as much as I like Aubameyang and all that, like, not for me in my favourite 3 or 4 strikers ever played for Arsenal, So I'm not going to go, we're going to be upset when he goes. If he signs and we've got the players there, I'd like to think that he'd sign. For a selfish point of view, that if he does sign, it means to me that he's been told there's certain players coming that's going to give us some ambition. But if he says he don't want to go, he doesn't want to sign, we move on.
Fair enough. I think Aubameyang, for me, I would keep him whatever. I know you all didn't disagree, Lee, and say we've got to replace him now, otherwise we'll lose him for nothing and have nothing to replace him with. I think we've got more chance of getting in the top 4 with an elite striker, Aubameyang, so I would keep him even if he goes on a free. I would just keep him now. I don't think we're going to replace him. It's going to cost 90-odd million. The only players that I think can replace him are Haaland, Mbappe, Griezmann, somebody like that. I don't think we've got the money to get that unless we do a swap deal with one of those 3, which I can't see any of them coming to Arsenal personally. So I'd keep hold of Aubameyang. If we had to sell one of them, I'd probably sell Lacazette and try and do a swap deal with Partey or some money. So I think that for me would be the one that I would probably get rid of. Boys, we've overrun, but I'm just going to run down with what we've gone with. We're both happy with the keepers. I think Leno and Martinez, we're quite happy that that's not an area of priority. Right back, however, we'd like to start again, rip it up and start again, and have a right back there that we believe is going to be the next Lauren or Sagna or Dixon. Left back, we're fairly happy with Saka and Tierney. Centre back's an issue, but with Upamecano, Saliba, we'd be quite happy if that was the future of Arsenal. So let's hope that we can put in the bid for Upamecano. Midfield's an interesting one with Guendouzi and Willock, I think, as youngsters. Thomas Partey and Jack Grealish, however, would be definite upgrades on the likes of Xhaka and Mesut Ozil. So there are 2 options that we believe would strengthen an upgrade on midfield. In terms of wide players, Willian and Fraser are looking like they could be good options on free transfers to add to Pepe, Saka and Martinelli. Reece Nelson potentially on loan, if not keep. And of course, Aubameyang and Nketiah up front. And if there is some kind of swap deal we can do with a Lacazette or somebody like that, then so be it. So boys, Upamecano, Thomas Partey, Jack Grealish, and maybe Willian or Fraser. Would that team, or with those players, Trev, I'll ask you, be good enough to compete with cementing a place in the top 4? Because we can't be unrealistic and think that's good enough to win the league, or can we?
Every team can win the league, Dan. Yeah, that team with those players is an improvement on what we got. Undoubtedly is an improvement on what we got. We touched on it earlier. You don't build sides overnight nowadays. So for me, that those players in our side, we finish 3rd or 4th next season. I'd take that. I'd happily take that. The season after would be much more interesting if we kept the same group of players together and they've developed as a side. Then you'd be expecting more. But yeah, bring them players in and get us in the top 4, and we're all smiling again. We're all Arsenal fans that are seeing more of an effort made, because we haven't bought well, have we? For some time. We are if we're honest, we're a mid-table-ish side, and bringing those players in and make us better. Get us in top 4, and I'll smile for another year.
Let's hope so. Mark, do you agree with that, mate? Would you say that's good enough to be top four and then hopefully challenge Liverpool and City in a couple of years after that if we can keep this crop of players?
Yeah, keep us going in the right place, wouldn't it? Just finally, for me, selling your best striker is not always the worst thing you can ever do. If you look back in history at the biggest clubs, Liverpool selling Michael Owen, letting Fowler go, Arsenal, by the way, got the closest we ever have in the last 13 years to winning the league. The season after we got rid of Thierry Henry, I say we got rid of him, he left for pastures new, and a great success at Barcelona after breaking the records with us and stuff. But, we ain't got as close to winning the league as what we did the season after he went. 4 points we was behind. We've been nowhere near that since for 13 years. So it's not always the bad thing if you can use that asset to reinvest, and that's the key. But if we've reinvested properly, like you said, we'd be back in the top four, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, to be fair. Yeah. And finally, judges, give you the last say.
Couldn't agree more what the boys are saying. Like, if we bought that Upamecano, partly Grealish, and a couple of free transfers along the way in the calibre of a Fraser and all that, I'd be more than happy with those signings. And I agree with Trev, that'd be a base to get into the top four, to then really have a go the following season. And it's easier said than done, isn't it? But that's what we've got to be looking at doing. And as you say, it's an upgrade on what you've got. Also, it has to be mentioned that Mikel Arteta has got a year working with these players. We've seen improvement with what he's got now. With those sort of players to see an improvement, it would be good times for Arsenal coming.
Fair enough. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. And thanks to everybody in the chat room as well for joining us. Over 130 of you at one point. So thanks very much. Really appreciate your time. Please stay safe, people. Keep safe. Please stay indoors. I know it's easy and everyone keeps saying the same, but please stay safe and keep yourself indoors. Our thoughts are with everybody who is fighting this horrendous virus at this time. And it's not just people like Boris who's gone into intensive care, and our thoughts are obviously with him, and our thoughts are with Pep Guardiola's family after the sad death of his mother, but also everybody that goes under the radar because they're not celebrities or famous, that are fighting or have lost their loved ones to this horrendous virus. Our thoughts do go out with you. Please keep safe and take care of each other, guys. Mark, thank you very much for joining us, mate. How can everybody follow you on social media if they fancy getting your following up to more than 30?
No, don't bother. I don't do anything. Although I did do one thing on Twitter today. So if you follow me, I did my isolation 1 to 11 with items around the house. I've done my little team and all that. So that might be worth checking out. And if you think it is, follow me. If you don't, block me. Brilliant.
At Shade Chaser 1. Please go and follow Mark at Shade Chaser 1, and you'll see the random stuff that he puts up on Twitter. Trev, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It's been superb having you on. I hope you've enjoyed it, mate.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, boys. Thank you. I've even managed to get a word in next to Judges, look. So I'm very happy with myself. Mark, I followed you on Twitter, mate. Fantastic.
You did.
I was about your 36th.
How many?
About
36. You got rid of 36 people today, Hilsey, because you see them out walking about the streets.
I think, yeah, I've had the ump today. I have. But no, on a serious note, boys, I know Dan's just said it. We all need to stay safe, be sensible. There's a lot of life left after this virus disappears, so let's make sure we all get through to live it. Thank you for having me, lads. Loved every second of it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Trev, and well said as well. Please go and follow Trev over on Twitter at Gooner Hilsey. And if you want to listen to more of Trev, then you can go and listen to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, where he's a regular panelist and a great one at that. Trev, thank you so much. Judges, always a pleasure, mate. Thanks very much for coming on, pal.
Thank you. Great. Cheers, Trev. Cheers, Mark. And thanks for everybody watching and everything. And stay safe out there.
Stay safe, people. And last but not least, the last thing to say, up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.